Good morning, everyone. 8 o'clock again on the 24th of September. I've got to remember to speak a little bit slower maybe. I've had a couple of comments from people who are struggling with the English language like I struggle with the French language, saying, oh, if I could slow my voice down a little bit, it may be easier to understand. So I'll try to when I can, and good to see everyone's having fun following the tracker. Good news overnight, Guy has his boat on a truck, low loader, and I think it's being loaded on the barge as we speak to bring it back across to Lanzarote and Rubicon Marina, I believe. So that's good news for lots of reasons. Ayrton, which you may have read, is back on track. He had some electrical problems but's decided to carry on. The problems aren't fixed at the moment, but he thinks he can maintain a reasonable charge on the boat to keep all the critical comms working, and he won't be spending much time on the HF radio and so on. So anyway, everyone's having fun, and the fleet's scattering because of this low pressure system here. And I'll just overview the weather before we go into the various positions. First of all, Arnaud. Arnaud is not sailing fast. There's not a lot of wind up there. He's making between 3 and 4 knots. It'll be a bit of a race to see if he can get in before we have to leave. The ETA I worked out at the moment is he'll arrive about 2 o'clock this afternoon, local time. And we have to leave for the airport about 3 o'clock, so it's going to be touch and go. Anyway, we've got our volunteers all ready to take over our positions and do it if we have to go and he doesn't make it. So watch the tracker and you will see his ETA, and hopefully it's before 3 o'clock. So this low pressure system now is not looking as intense as it was projected 3 or 4 days ago, which is kind of cool. Half the fleet is going down the east coast here to get away from it, and of course Simon and Tapio made it through. It's still some heavy weather. If we look at even the projection there, we look at the colour bar on the bottom here. You can see it's in this area here, 28 to 30 knot forecast in this little area there, which means it's gusting a lot higher, and the sea will be building. But just the best way to explain that now is just to swap it over to windy. This is the current position. Is a little bit more accurate, but certainly the positions are the same, and this is on the ECMWF model. This is the gust, forecast gust, so in this blue area it's around 45 knots gusts, which is correct, because if it's forecasting 30 knots, you literally pick it up to about 30% more for the gusts. The interesting thing is when we look at now the other models, the GFS models, which is the one that's the next most popular, you might say, a little bit less impact, stretching over a slightly different area. But Icon, which is the other one, is again showing reasonable wind strengths, but it's got it a little bit more compact towards the centre. So all the models are pretty much agreeing on what's going on. That's real time now. And if we look at this and go to midnight tonight or near enough, yep. It's moving north on the Icon model. On the GFS model, the wind band is extending over towards the coast, which is interesting. Completely different shape. But if we come back to the ECMWF, getting more intense and basically heading due north. It's still around 50 knots there. Sea state's sort of in the middles there, the 5s and 6s. So anyway, we know there's a bit of breeze there. So when we come back here, if we now look at the positions, Arnaud up the top there, 3.5 knots. Damien's cracking pace, 6.8. He's enjoying this sort of northeasterly airflow, and it's going to get stronger for him. So Ian Herbert Jones, the same, doing 6.4 knots, plenty of breeze. Elliot's coming down, plenty of breeze, 5.7. Get rid of that. And then if we come up here, I'll just enlarge this a bit. So Elliot's doing okay. Ayrton coming down 5.4. He didn't slow up, just got an electrical problem. These guys now have come into the headwind, so they're really forced, the Guy Waits and also Jeremy, to come across and tack on port tack, heading in towards the centre of the low, remembering that this is going to go north very quickly now. So they've been doing that for a while. Michael Goog's the same. You can see here he's got a southerly airflow. But here it's for the lead guys in this other pack. That was Pat, Abelish and Tommy. It's a transition phase. I think you'll see Kirsten and Abelish will tack back the other way very quickly, probably even on the next position report. They had to do that. They're doing 4.8. They're going hard on the breeze, and this was at I'll get this up here. This was at 4 o'clock UTC. So I'm pretty sure by the time you see the next one, they've tacked across, they'll be coming the other way. And as this high moves north, you'll see the wind direction will change and it'll be a bit more favourable. But certainly the wind strength's not as much, probably 25 knots there, still sea state. Let's see what it's showing at the moment. It's quite uncomfortable. That's around 2.5, 3 metres, 2.5, 3 metres, and it would have been slightly more as it came through, but it's all going north, as I say. So it doesn't look good in that sense because they're sailing away from the mark. This is the rum line down here. They're pretty much holding their own, but it'll probably only be doing that for maybe 6 to 8 hours. First off on port tack, then it'll be on starboard tack, then they'll be able to get moving again. Simon and Tapio, of course, they rode that through, and in hindsight, for this group here, Pat was always a little bit out to the west. In hindsight, Kirsten and Abelish, they may have been able to ride through this and keep going because the forecast did change. The actual reality of the weather changed basis what the forecast was saying 2 or 3 days ago. But they made their decision, stuck with it, and now overall they'll probably have less sea state and stuff as well. So anyway, a lot of diversity in the plans at the moment. If I just scale this back and show you what's happening with the weather moving forward, and you'll see how quickly it's tracking. I'll get this down here. So if we go through till midnight tonight, let's see, that's about it. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You can see two things. It's shot north, so the wind direction now will be changing, but it's going to go light as well. So it's coming from the west, really. So that's cool. These guys will then be, as it's lightening off, you'll see them tack around and they'll be just heading south, which is sort of where they want to go. And that movement continues on. If we go through another 24 hours, it's close enough. Okay, and this is showing it's actually lightening off quite a lot. So Damien's going to come into the middle of this. He'll be down here at this stage. Light headwinds again. The whole fleet then starts to run out of breeze, and this is what I was saying. When that low pressure system went through, it sucked everything across, and it's extending to become part of what may look like the doldrums. Okay, and even here, if you so this is an area of great instability before you get across to the southeast trades here, and usually, if you're over to the east of the course, these guys coming down, they're in a better position to then tack away, and get across the top of the northeast trades before they start heading down. So Simon and Tapio have actually used up a bit of their easting, or they've moved over to the west, which means they're going to be harder on the nose later on. But first of all, this is the next big challenge, the doldrums, which has extended quite a long way up. And there's an interesting point here. So this is a couple of days ahead, but if I come back to now and just look at Bernard Matessia's route, you'll see here he was coming down very clearly, and then all of a sudden, bang, he tacked across. And so that means he probably was meeting a very much higher area of the southeasterly trades, or he was just having to tack across to another system, and so on. So anyway, always fun to watch what Bernard was doing. Still fleet all over the place, still plenty happening. Watch this space, but generally, now that this low pressure system's gone, it should be what I'd call pretty much plain sailing for the next few weeks, next couple of weeks, as they'll come out Vicky to look at the track, as they'll generally come down here, work across the trades. They'll be on port tack, they'll just rock it down. Trinidadi is here, so that's the next one, and already you're starting to see some of these low pressure systems in the South Atlantic, but there'll be lots going on. Usually there's a big South Atlantic high sitting here, so you may not see them turn Trinidadian and go straight for Cape Town. They'll probably come down around, and when they work out where the high is, come across here, something like that. So plenty going on in the weeks ahead, but this area, we'd hope there won't be too much excitement and too much drama. They'll have a bit of a break and can get things done on their boats and things like that. But the doldrums, very demanding, very lack of sleep, all sorts of little systems, thunderstorms, squalls that don't show up on the main weather window. So thanks for that. We'll see you tomorrow from Les Sables d'Olonne, and it's been a great time. Thanks for Rubicon Marina, everything that's happening there, great support, and it's a nice place, Lanzarote. We went to the beach. We had an hour at the beach yesterday. So if you want to go for a holiday, it's not bad. Apparently it's quite